Thank you for speaking with me today. So we saw that the city put out a post actually yesterday saying that this road closure, the Tavern Building, has costed taxpayers a little over $64,000. Is that accurate?
That's accurate from the standpoint that it's been since 2023. Okay, that's the most recent group of litigation or moving forward. So we've only tracked 2023 since the case has shifted, and then we've had a couple of we've had a consolidation, and we've had some additional motions, many additional motions, and some preliminary decisions, maybe some final decisions. And so we've been wanting to keep track of what's been going on in 2023, especially as we start hitting limits before council may have to get involved and authorized.
What would you say to taxpayers that are saying, you know, that's a lot of money to spend on a building being closed, that money could go towards something more useful?
You know, all we can do is apologize. We have to defend ourselves. We have to defend the taxpayers from a potentially bigger bill. If there was any side litigation, if there was any kind of lawsuits that occur, you know, we have to keep our interests represented. We have to do things to keep the building, the road especially, safe for people. And this is the way we have to do this. But we've been tracking this to let taxpayers know how much we're spending, but also what the cost is of this seemingly never-ending, ongoing litigation that we're trying to get an end in sight, but we don't see it yet.
Yeah, can you explain what the city's position is on this building and maybe a little bit of why this matter has gotten as complicated as it has?
So, you know, there were some efforts back at, I guess it was in the spring. All the dates kind of run together right now. But there were several inspections by different engineers. Pretty much all of them had a slightly different opinion of the building. At one point, the property owner came to the city and said, you know, under certain conditions, we would be willing to donate this building in an effort to try to spur some redevelopment, let the city work with either nonprofits or even private developers to try to repurpose this building. Would we be willing to do this? Now, at that point, we had we knew that the county chief building official had some orders against the property owner to do some kind of remediation. That remediation could have included renovations or demolition. But having said the word demolition, there was still a court order at that point. It was not that it had to be demolished. That was just one of the options that the property owner could pursue in the right circumstances with legal permission. Again, that's kind of May time frame. All right. So we then went back to the CBO and we said, okay, tell us what for me to go back to the council, what kind of number, what kind of repairs would we need to do so that he would relax the adjudication order and give us a chance to redevelop? Because there were certain things that needed to be done like right now, certain things that if he knew that we were pursuing redevelopment, that we'd still have the adjudication order, but we'd have some time to get things done. So we went back and he did a much more detailed, thorough inspection, brought his structural engineer, and this is about the middle of June by this time, and he said, wait a minute, there's a lot more concerns. I better bring my structural engineer in, have him take a look at it. And that's when the whole narrative shifted, and he said, the structural engineer said, this building needs to be demolished, it's separating, it's doing X, Y, and Z. As a result of that, and again, there's still things that are going on in the court. There are more filings, there are more motions by each side, briefings, arguments, back and forth. And So about a week goes by, nothing's happening, and we said, well, we've got to do something about this. We've got an order that says this building is going to collapse. It's from our CBO, Chief Building Official, and his structural engineer. They are our advisor. They are our contract building department. We can't ignore this. And so the city code gives me the responsibility, the burden of closing a street, doing traffic control. And so I had to, after talking to the mayor, talking to the fire chief, and talking to the police chief, that's when we closed the building. So that building, or I'm sorry, not the building, the street. And so, you know, we recognized that closing the street was going to be a big issue. We really never thought that it would be weeks and months. I think we are going, if I look at my cheat sheet, we're over 18 weeks that road has been closed. We know that the businesses, the downtown property owners are very upset with that. You know, we're more motivated than anybody else, really, to try to get that road open as quickly as possible. Where I see this going, which I think was your initial question, I know it was a long answer, and probably glad we've got new batteries, but where we're at with that is when either one of two things happen, either the building gets demolished or the chief building official changes his mind, not a scenario I see him doing, that's the point when we can open that road and get get rid of the detour and get everybody traveling back and forth along the historic downtown. But until then, we have no alternative. We've got to keep that road closed. And so that's part of the narrative of every weekly update, to remind people that this is what we're doing and why we're doing it, and knowing that there is a financial cost with every week that goes by, and every time we have to engage our lawyer and maybe do some more traffic control, maybe do some court-related filings or costs. There are additional financial costs that are associated with that, and the taxpayers deserve to know. This is not without financial, as well as financial pains, as well as a serious inconvenience for our visitors, our businesses, our residents who want to get to and through our downtown from the west.
Right, and speaking of the business owners, I've heard that this has already hurt them financially. Now we're going into the holiday season, which would normally be when, you know, their sales may be higher. Has the city considered trying to help out the business owners at all? Because I have heard that there's been no effort for the city to do any of that.
Well, I think it's certainly not true, first of all. Second of all, the city, if they're talking about making financial remuneration, I think it's to the business owners, that would be another taxpayer cost. And frankly, that would be difficult for us to do. And we've told them that. How much of the business disruption is caused by the fencing versus the road construction project versus the time of the year versus the product line and any marketing. There's so many different factors. So the ability for us to write a check to offset, who would we write that check to? How far-reaching, who's going to hold their hand out and say, me too? All of those factors, and so that could be a blank checkbook, and again, that would fall to the taxpayers. So we just can't do that. Now, in any other way that we possibly can to do more marketing, to improve parking access, to support events that they want to do to try to promote the downtown, we are doing that. We have reestablished some temporary parking on the sides of both sides of the fence. We're benefiting the attorney's office to the west of the fence now that the road project work is done in front of his space. You know, early on, right away, we established some parking on the east side of it. You know, we're helping, we're relaxing some of our regulations related to the events downtown and the use of our right-of-way, so that they can hopefully have a successful weekend this coming weekend with the Enchanted Wonderland, Winter Wonderland, I'm not sure what they're calling it, but so that we can support them. We've tried to put as much signage out. We do post some things on the Facebook page and other social media that we've got. Council did go as far as temporarily eliminating timed parking to make it a lot more flexible for folks to come down and not have to worry about moving their car every so many hours during the holiday season. So that's good for another 3 months, certainly through the holiday season. So we're trying in all these other different ways, and we'll continue to try to work with the Troy Main Street, with the Chamber, with the small businesses one-on-one, if necessary, to do what we can.
And lastly, is this typical that it would take the court and litigation this long? Is this because different experts have been saying different things about that building? You have some experts from the Historic Association saying it doesn't need to be demolished, others saying it does. With saying there's no end that you see in sight, I think that could be a little disheartening to some people. So is this a normal process?
It's difficult to answer that question because I'm not the court. I'm not the court system. I'm not an attorney. So, you know, I don't even pretend to understand all of the strategy that's involved on both sides. I can say that this is my, God, do I even say this, 36th year in local government. This is the longest process that I've been involved in a particular issue. That is not saying that it's any longer than others that might have had experience with similar type cases. It's certainly a unique case. It's frustrating, to say the least. We would like to get it resolved as quickly as everybody else would. But, you know, we see a much narrower path to, really the only path to get it done, and that is to follow the legal expertise of our chief building official and follow his guidance.